What's going on, man? How you
I
doing?
love that intro. That intro is cool. It's like you should have your own TV series.
We're having trouble posting to LinkedIn. This may be a problem with LinkedIn. We'll keep trying, so this may be fixed automatically. Wait 30 seconds to see. If not, try ending this broadcast and creating a new one. Right. I have no idea if we're live or not. Let's just see. If anyone is watching, please drop a comment in. And if not, we are going to refresh. I guess I'll open up LinkedIn so we can inbox
I
each
know it's
other.
showing it's live on my filter. I've literally just got
Okay.
on my phone. It shows it's live.
Cool. Looks like we're rocking them. Anyway, worst intro ever. That's the second time this has happened. If we don't get any comments, I probably will be a little bit worried. But David, thank you so much for coming on, man. We have been speaking for, well, I don't know. I've been doing this for the best part of a year now, and I think I
Yeah.
met you very, very early on in the journey.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting with social media, isn't it? Because you end up in these little cliques like you do with school, right? Where you get used to seeing the same faces around the halls, and you pass each other every day, and you sort of engage here and there, but you never really have full-on conversations. Which is a great thing, but also a strange thing, isn't it? Because then I've known you for a year, but we don't know each other. But you feel like
Yeah,
you do.
100%. We've never actually spoken apart from a few messages and voice messages and stuff. And I know what you mean about the clicks because I started on Instagram. That's where I think I met you.
Yeah.
And then thanks, guys, for letting us know. The comments are coming through, which is good. Thanks all for joining. We met on Instagram and I really felt the clickiness and still feel the clickiness on Insta. And you know what? It's exactly the same on here. It's exactly the same on LinkedIn.
It's bizarre. I remember uploading some live once and some guy went, "Oh, is this a parody?" And I was like, "What do you mean? Like, if you don't like me, that's fine." But I was like, that just says so much more about you. But you had to go on and comment on that. And I thought, whatever's going on in his day must be really, really sad. And it's the same as
Yeah.
that school clique, right? Too many
Mm.
people spent their time trying to fit in on the hallways instead of just being yourself. And we look back now at school and we know the people that were the happiest and most people liked more were just themselves because you find your own way.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like you're doing life, just like you're doing business. You know, I when I started, I'm not ashamed. I was to say this the same at school. I tried to do something
Yeah,
rather
yeah.
than just letting it be. But I'm glad I
And we
did
all
because
do
it
that.
picked a direction. Yeah, I think we do. I think we do.
Some people
But
just don't admit it. That's the big difference.
yeah, and you can hit your 50s or something, right? And still not be a
And then
bin.
you realize, yeah,
And then you're making
100%.
comments when you're 70 on LinkedIn and you're bitter and twisted, but we won't get into that. Thank you so much for jumping on. We're going to talk about how to develop a high ticket mindset. And when I
Yeah.
released the fact that we were doing this, I sort of prefaced it or prefixed it with a comment that I said, I don't like the phrase high ticket.
Yes.
And I think I didn't mind it when I first started working for myself and working in the area with lots of sales coaches and business mentors are. But I feel like that phrase just gets thrown at people, thrown about so much, and it's what turned into one of those like just horrible phrases. What do you think about it? I mean,
I think people have it wrong. I think people use it wrong. I
mm,
think my psychology with high ticket is if I'm selling something that's high ticket, it's high impact for the business, right? It's a higher risk for the business. There's a higher potential change for the business. Low risk, it's a punt. Low risk, low impact. A lot of people see low and high ticket as about the price value.
mm,
And I think that's wrong. I think if we say now, okay, I've got a high ticket program, that high ticket program could be 10 grand, right? It could be 10 million pounds. But if I'm coming into a business, realistically, there's a higher chance of failure, a higher chance of long lasting change, a higher probability that we're going to have to really change something big in that business. A low ticketed product is low risk, low reward, a punt. You're not really low decision making. Just do it. Because you know that if it goes well, it'll make a little difference and it'll prove what you're worth. If it doesn't, we're not really bothered. And that's
um,
why it's so important when you're talking high ticket. It's not about, I think, the price. And this is why you need to be more effective in and around sales, business, marketing conversations. Because if we're going to talk about something that for you is high ticket, that you're going to have to make a bigger decision on, you need to be more effective in the communication and the narrative of what goes around it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's the
the whole
difference.
wrap of the message in it, you
Yeah,
know, exactly what it's wrapped up in. I love the fact that you've said the word risk in there,
yeah,
because the more money
everything
you
is
spend, the more higher ticket it is in terms of cost, the higher the risk associated with it, but also
massively.
the higher the rewards, the higher the impact, as you say. I love that. Um, Speaking about price,
Yes.
I see a lot of people say anything over $500, pounds is high ticket, and I'm like, really? I wouldn't
To them
even
it
call that
is.
middle, to
Most
be
most
honest.
people in business are selfish. They're talking about what they find high price. They think that's high ticket because they've never spent 500 quid. They haven't even brought an iPhone outright. So the idea of handing over £500, but think about it. Look at most
You're
people's lives,
right. I'm laughing
right?
because you're right.
Their iPhone on finance. And this isn't against people on finance, right? I'm just saying that how often do you put your card in the machine and spend more than £500? If it's not often, then you feel 500 is a lot,
Mm, mm.
right? If you're buying things more often, more frequently, say you've got a business and you're spending 1,000 on this and 1,000 on that, and the average is 1,000 that you spend, then 1,000 will feel normal. If you're only used to spending 100, so a lot of the time when people go, "Oh yeah, I sell high ticket," do you? It's about the other person. It's about the business. Don't if you feel it's high ticket. What do they think? Is it high commitment? Is there a high risk?
Mm.
And everyone's like, oh, no, I do high ticket. Just do high ticket. It's easier. No, low ticket isn't an easy sale, but you still need to be effective at what you do. And a lot of the time out there, people focus on the money because that's what it's worth to them. If it's higher ticketed price, they make more commissions. You need to find 2 people a day and you're making £1,000. Shut up.
I
Like
love
it's,
it.
but that's the way people sell it, right? They're selling that dream. What about the impact it has for the other person? Like we were talking earlier about offers. If it's £500 and they see a high perceived likelihood of success, right? And there's not a massive potential downside, £500 a punt. But
Yeah,
if
it's
it's
nothing.
five,
I remember and again, I remember my first like investment in, on Insta. I
mm,
bought a course for 200 quid.
yeah,
And I questioned the hell out of the guy whose course it was. And
yeah.
for me, and as daft as this sounds, that was high ticket because it was a high expense, because it was I didn't have the money. I did have the money,
You
but I
couldn't
didn't
afford
want to
it. You
waste
couldn't
the money.
afford for it to go wrong. Like in our mind.
I could have done,
Not,
to be
not, not
fair.
physically, but you know, up here, if this goes
Yeah,
wrong,
yeah,
there's
yeah.
judgment, there's this, there's that. So there's a lot of other stuff that goes around it.
But once I spent that, then I graduate to spending, oh, I'll try £1,000 on something.
Yeah.
Before you know it, you're pushing 5, 6K into stuff. And now, if someone tried to sell me something for 200 quid in terms of a course or something, I would probably, because of this high ticket mentality that I've obviously developed in the last 12 months, I'll be like, no, I'm not interested. It's got to be 4 figures minimum. And I don't know where that comes from.
But
Um,
again, it's our threshold, right? It comes
it
down
is.
to our
You're
threshold.
normalizing certain behaviors and certain like self expectations and
Yeah.
justifying it to yourself subconsciously.
Look at t-shirts. There's people out there that are spending 300 quid on a t-shirt, but they've got one t-shirt,
So that's what I used to do. I
right?
wouldn't buy a hoodie that was like under 300 quid. I haven't bought any designer clothes in the past 24 months, I wouldn't say now, but I wouldn't even look at a 50 quid t-shirt. And that's such an idiot thing to do. I can't believe I used to do it and squander all this cash on useless stuff. But again, like you say, you set the benchmark for something, a behavior, or a purchase habit just
Yeah.
becomes normalized.
But you saw the value in it before. And the only thing that's changed, the product
Somehow,
hasn't
yeah.
changed. So when we say before, okay, so you spent £300 on a hoodie and you wouldn't look at something lower, but because you got more value out of that £300 hoodie, you're out in the pubs more, you walk different, you had an element, you brought confidence by having that to a degree. Not you, but in general. If you
Yeah.
walk down the road like there's a lump of coal in your soul that has extra heat in it because you wear those clothes, that can actually change your mindset. Should it do it? No. But if it does, then actually the £300 hoodie is not just a hoodie. There's a lot of underlying things that go with it. And some other people, like now, we have a different perspective where we're like, I could have put that money into buying this or buying crypto or getting a better mic or buying a backdrop because we see the value in that same pound note to be greater elsewhere. And now that hoodie doesn't serve you. And that's the thing, right? You've evolved from that served me for these underlying purposes, and now something else, that cash serves me better. And let's be frank, having a kid, but getting older, you realize there's a lot of things you start thinking differently. There's
Not
a lot
many
of other
more
parts.
£300 hoodies getting bought, let me tell you.
Exactly.
So going back to price, because a lot of this is about price.
Yes.
If I said to you, right, David, I've got a high ticket program.
Yeah.
And you came on a sales call, how much would you expect that base level to be?
For coaching,
business
I think if
mentorship
someone's going to say
coaching.
to me high ticket, I'd be expecting anywhere from 5 to 5 up. Most people are not going to be pitching something more than about 40, 50 grand. I mean, that's a rarity. You're going to get people pitching that just because they don't. So, but again, I think we look differently. Certain people, where I shop, right? When we talk about the expensive hoodie, where I shop for my training is in a different place than it used to be. But likelihood someone would get me on Instagram and get me on a call for a product or a service that would be high ticket is slim. Could you get me on a call for some copywriting? Yeah. Could you get me on for a service? But it wouldn't be high ticket. Because now I'm at a stage where, for me, I really want to be jumping through some serious hoops. So you have to not impress me, but I would have to know you before I invested into it. Because it's so hard now. So for me, it doesn't even come down to necessarily the price. If I'm getting, like we spoke about Paul Getter earlier, like if he charges 20K for his program, I would see that as high ticket because it's 20K. But there's a lot of perceived value by that association. And every time there's a perceived value association, it brings down the value in your head. Like if you potentially could get on one of his stages and speak, or this is going to happen, or that's going to happen. It brings the cost down in your mind because you can justify it easier. But I would say 5K above, more being high ticket. But I also expect when people say it to me that they'll talk anywhere from 2K and above.
Yeah, I'd probably put the benchmark at 1,500. And as we just run through, the 1,500 quid mark, what results is what is the impact? The risk for now, like in terms of how much I've spent in the past, is now sort of middle ground.
Yeah.
I wouldn't laugh at that money, but I wouldn't like overthink spending it.
Yeah.
What kind of impact can someone in a mentoring or a coaching scenario actually deliver for 1.5K? How developed are you for 1.5K?
Exactly. What's the risk? So when I talk to people about programs when they get with me, we've got the perceived likelihood of success, but then I have to look at a couple of things that are in there. Imagine if you're only 50% as good as you say you are, what will I make? Imagine if I only make 50% of the effort that I meant to make, what will I make? And if that worst case scenario would still be worth more, like 200-300% more than the program, it's probably worthwhile. But if I think that I have to go all in on this, I've got to be on my game every day for 3 months, right? Like you're going to get ripped for some weightlifting competition. Or like say you booked in for a fight. I know you did a boxing, right? Imagine we go bang. You're going to have an actual fight in 12 weeks. You would want to make sure that was because you'd be so committed, but the likelihood of you not turning up is minimal. So even with a bad coach at that point, you're going to squeeze every drop of what they give you, and you're going to push yourself to the nth degree. Most people aren't going to do that with a program. So I think you have to look at the worst case scenario, and what if they're only half as good as they say? And then you know it's worst case. Because then if it goes wrong and worst case scenario happens, you're not annoyed.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And I've purposely came in and started investing right in some of these 3 to 5K coaches in order to just see what their setup was like, pretty much, and just go, right, they do this. This is what the model's like. This is how they deliver things. And that's been invaluable. It has. It's really, really helped me shape out certain things quite a bit. But you know what? Some of them were bad. Some of them were bad.
But that builds confidence, right? Because then you've got, my God, if people are buying this stuff and they're happy, because some people, we think it's bad, but other people have used that and got results. And you go,
well,
okay.
exactly. That's what my point is. Like, even though I wasn't necessarily compelled to do something, I still worked like I was training for a fight within
Yes.
those 12, 24 weeks, whatever it was. And I made sure I got results, but I can't actually tie a lot of those results back to anything I learned in some of these programs, which is, it's cool. But let's go with the assumption, right, that someone is charging £1,000 or
Yes.
750, like 3 figures, right, for their service at the moment, and they want to develop that into something more. They want to become high ticket, not only in the pricing, but also
Yeah.
in the model and the delivery. Let's have a chat about what those steps could look like. So
Okay.
you've got a 750 program, let's
Yeah.
say, dollars, pounds, doesn't really matter. And we want to get that to the next stage.
So I think when you're developing an offer to start with, the first thing you've got to work out is what are all of the pain points. So we go through and we work out every single problem, every single thing. Like imagine if you're never going to buy a course, a program ever again, right? Then we look at all of that. I'd forget about the first offer that you've got. I genuinely would at the start. And I would go, okay, forget what we've built, forget the time and the effort has gone into it. Let's look at all of the problems our clients have from where they are now. Their wife hates them, the dog like drives them mad, they have to do this, they can't sleep properly, they've got low confidence, they always fail, whatever all the stuff is. Then we look at the results they're trying to achieve. Once we've built that out, then I break that down into a series of solutions, which realistically will probably end up being 3 stages. Most people are not going to want to take it on. Now, if your first program was created correctly, that's either going to be the mid-range program now, which probably needs adding to develop it. But for most people, in the same way, if you do martial arts, you get a yellow belt and you think you're a ninja until you get to the next stage and get your ass handed to you. Most of the time, people are going to realize that their core product was actually a basic level. So then what you work out is, okay, so they arrived at this place with this problem. I get them to here. When you get them to here, you are normally creating a problem. If I do a lead generation course, suddenly you've got leads and you don't know what to do with them.
Problem.
Right? So then you go, what are the problems I'm creating, but they wouldn't have seen at this stage? And then you go, okay, what's the point there? Where are they going to want to go next? And then you take the previous problems you've worked on, develop those into the right solutions, and then you bring them through. And to be completely frank, I would add something at the start when you're selling the low ticket, the 750, because you pitch the highest product you've got always, like if they're suitable, right?
Yeah.
To give them an idea where it is, and then I would downsell that to a starting point. So I always say it's like Elon Musk turned up to you. Imagine if Elon Musk approached you now and said, Chris, we need you. What would be your Elon Musk package? I'll fly to you. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll be available on calls. Like I have a Batman service. Literally, if you need me, you put it in the air. It's on a Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock. I'm having a roast to my kids. I will walk away from the table and I'll take your call. Then you add a value to that. So that's your big singing and dancing thing. And I talk to people about this offer, and everyone's, oh my God, I don't want that. It's far too expensive. Don't need that. Okay, cool. Well, let's work backwards. Most people don't start here anyway, but now they've got a point of reference, right? That's our
that anchor, right?
Yeah. That's our ceiling. That's our price anchor. That's our Carrera GT, which we work off what people aspire to. And then you reverse it back and you find out more about where they are, what they want to be. And then you end up more than likely back at the middle or the earlier product. And I think for most people out there, when they've designed their course and their program, I try to say things in the nicest way, people design it selfishly. This is what I learned. This is the journey I've been on. And this is where I am now. Now, that's great. But you might be a unicorn. You might be 5% of the population that learns in the way that you learn. So your product actually doesn't resonate with 95% of the people.
I made that mistake, man, on one key element in my program, and I tried to input a software called Notion, which I got a bit of resistance from certain clients on. And that's an error that, because I did it, I learned the hard way. And now that taught me such a big lesson, and where everything else was quite simplified, but now I'm really, really trying to just simplify everything.
Yeah.
You don't need the complex stuff. Even though I'm a bit of a tech I love my tech. I love my software. Love my apps. But yeah, that's such a great point. Is selfish design is a big
Massively.
one.
But we do it from the right place because
Yeah,
we're at the
yeah,
stage
yeah.
of, oh my God, I've literally gone from here to here. My life's better. Like, look at you, right? You've got your business. You're having great results. You're spending more time with the family. You're working hard. You're playing hard. You're delivering. You've got a great path. And you're like, I want to bring people on this journey. That's great. But only if the tracks that you came in on, my train fits on. Because if my train ain't fitting on those tracks, we end up getting stuck. And then you get frustrated, I get frustrated, and the whole thing doesn't work. And I think that's the problem is most people are used to either selling one way, buying one way, and that's the only vision that they've got. And I think it takes someone, and this is why external coaches, strategists are great, because they come in and go, okay, let me talk to you about 5 different ways that we could do this, and let me tell you about the 5 different situations I've seen and the 5 different good and bad results, because each one's had good or bad. And you go, oh, I've never thought of that. Oh, that makes sense. Actually, no, the people I'm trying to sell are more like that, or they're not like that. And that either reaffirms that what we're doing is right, so we get more confidence, we over deliver, or you can tweak and adapt it. And most people out there have only developed the thing that they wanted to build because that's what they wanted, not what other people needed.
Yeah. No, great point. And I like the way you're saying just you can get set in one way and one way of doing things and one way of selling things. One question I've got for you on that is, so you've got, let's call this your mid-ticket,
Yeah.
mid-range program, this 750, and then we're going to try and get it to 3, maybe whatever it is, get it to 4 figures at least. Would you, because I'm very much like have one thing and do it really, really well, is what I try to help people do. Because a lot of people come to me and they go, I've got a course, I do one-on-one coaching, I'm building this out, I'm trying to do this, I've got a load of free stuff, and I'm like, right, just completely simplify. What do you think about having, would you keep that low? Because the way you were just talking, it was like you would keep that mid-range, low ticket, whatever item in underneath to downsell.
The ideal, so I say to a lot of people out there, some people could build more than one jigsaw at a time and be effective. Most can't, right? And what they end up doing is doing a couple of pieces on each jigsaw each day. You've got to jump, your mindset's got to change, you've got to remember the blooming picture, and you waste a lot of time between the cracks. So what I say to a lot of people is it depends what you've built. You can have something that's built that is very low resistance, that takes minimal work, that could be your downsell product that doesn't take any of your time. But if you find that the upkeep of this program is minimal in effort, maximum in effort, but minimal in results, then it's a pain in the backside for you. And that's down to each program. So I talk to people now, and I've got a great client at the moment. Their program's 2K, right? And they're like, oh, I want it to be 4K. I went, what are you talking about? What, just ran? I want it to be £1 million. That doesn't make any sense. Like, is the value there? And what we've actually done is really different. We've took their 2K program, we've took all the hard work out of it. So now it's automated and it's already built. And now we made it 795. So now when she's pitching something, the new product has got some of that stuff, all the bits that were good in there, the accountability, the one-on-one. Then it takes them, but now we fix this problem, the next stage, but now you spend a committed time with them, proving them committed, and that program's 4.5K. So then there's a big jump. And so the automated one out there, they pitch for 4.5 is the primary they're going for. But if people don't go in it, they go, well, what about this? You're probably sat on the fence. You've probably got doubts, you've got concerns, etc., etc. We have another option that's out there. We don't really market as much, but this is, if you're confident you're going to be able to do the work, this could be a stepping stone into it. This could get you to A, B, C, and X, Y, Z in the next 4 weeks. Would that sound more of interest, or is it more about getting the result you want? And if they're like, well, what's that about? And then you can go into that. And if they buy, not only have you just got a smaller ticketed sale, which you haven't marketed, so you've got a deal, but then you're like, okay, cool. So tell me this, if in 4 weeks we've delivered on X,
You got the upsell.
Would you want me to call you about this? And some people I know will do that and go, listen, if you upgrade to the full package later, we'll take 500 of that off the price. How does that sound? Cool. And then you can build in. So then you're having the deal in kind based off of that, and then they don't feel the commitment. But I wouldn't market that lower product.
That was what I was going to get into next, because luckily that lower product slots in really, really nicely as part of the higher ticket, which is fantastic. But surely there's going to be an appetite from that client at some point to go, I can't be bothered with these sales calls anymore.
Yeah.
I know that works. I've got loads of testimonials from both. I can combine them. Let's get some ads running. What do you think your advice would be then? Because we're almost now talking like forgetting high ticket and going with the easier option.
Well, so for me and what we do, so I say this to everyone, there's two things that we do. Sales calls are a pain in the backside. They are. But for me, say you're a potential client of mine. I know that you don't want to get on the phone because you don't want to be pitched, and especially with the name Sales Angel, you know that objections are going to get handled. So it's buy resistance. All we've done at the start of ours, we use Loom videos for everything. So to cut down the amount of sales calls, strategy calls, whatever banner you want to put on it, inquiry calls in there, we use Loom videos now, which give them a run through. So you don't have to have any objections. It gauges their interest, so that we then only get on the call. So then we get on the call with someone, they really know what we do. Like they really know. So we have an engagement in the conversation. We've got a Loom video, which it's a 6-slide presentation of this is likely where you are. This is what we do. Here's an example of who we've done it for. We've got a website with testimonials on. And so part of our DM conversation is, listen, I don't know if it's completely overstepping the mark. I don't want to harass you into a phone call because, to be frank, we don't even know if we could fit. But I've got a video you can watch. So you don't have to talk to me. You can watch it at home. And if it's of interest, we can communicate a bit further without you having to go through that rigmarole. Would that be all right with you? And most people are like, yeah, cool. Now, if someone's took that video, they're either tire kicking, they're curious, which is fine, or they watch it and they go, that's actually really good. But now, because you've watched the video, you've got a point of reference to talk about where you can really get in. So you end up doing part of the sales call before you've ever got on a call. And it means you and your diary's not getting filled up. So I think a lot of people don't like the sales call, the phone call, because there's a lot of uncomfortableness at the start. But by utilizing a Loom video, you take a lot of that pain away. And you can. One of my clients has done it now with this lower ticket 750 product, where they're actually selling through the DMs. They've sold 2 in the last 3 weeks, through the DMs. Haven't even got a call.
Yeah, that's a lot. And then when you can scale that even further by getting an appointment setter or someone's handle your DMs.
And you can have someone on different accounts doing different things that are in there. So suddenly it's taking that 35,000 foot view and going, okay, what works for me? For me out there, we have one major program, which isn't cheap. It does have solid results. We know what we do. We break everything down. Like it's a real thing where we work with you. They get me every single day on WhatsApp because I'm an addict to this. So we took all the pain points away. And I've got people now that will say, and this is just to carry on what we're saying, oh, that's too much of it. That's fine. Like, go and do other stuff if you want. People can go to our platform for 97 quid a month. You can do that. But if you want a program which is lower cost, that's fine. Like, go and do that, get more confidence and talk to us later. We're okay. Like, we're not here to hound you. So I stick to my higher ticketed product. Because for me, I know that's where we're going to get the lasting results from. Because we're not trying to
transformational stuff, right?
Yeah, we've got a 16 weeks every week. You're on the phone to me every day. We're voice noting, we're chatting. You're going into a sales meeting. You're like, I'm scared. What do I say? Or you're vibing, or you're having I'm on that. So I'll send 40, 50, 60 voice notes a day. Like, I love it. Not many people have the same level of addiction to that I do to this. So that's not practical for most. So you have to look at, what's my lifestyle? What do I want to do? What am I prepared to do long term? Because if we do too much, we'll get burnt out. What's going to still get the results for my clients? And then you work out what's the best product ladder to do that with. Is it one product to keep, because I get confused, I don't want to confuse others? Or actually, is it worth having something on a lower cycle that will keep them coming through on a smoother cycle longer term? And that's where the big difference. It's not one size fits all.
No, there's not. I agree. And there are cases where I'll tell people to keep their lower ticket offers in if, it's worked. If it's not,
Yeah.
then let's not. And I love what you said, because I've recently just put together a sort of a whole journey. I think, you know, this is how you can make a slow transition to high ticket, is by engineering that journey before, during, and after the sales call. So before is where all the work, pretty much 80%, is done.
Yeah.
And that comes through just having an optimized profile, making sure your content's on point, making sure your messaging and what you show up on lives like this and talk about. If we were talking about like 500 quid was a lot of money, then it doesn't paint us in a good light for when someone jumps on a sales call and we ask them for 4 figures. But I love the video before the call as well. That's something I've just put in place. Big landing page, FAQs. I'm actively just put a new thing in Calendly as well, which disqualifies people, which
Nice.
is fantastic. The automatic disqualification now is doing wonders, because I can see the numbers coming in. Last week, 100 inquiries, and I didn't have 100 sales calls last week. Let me tell you that.
But isn't it so? And the thing is, do you know, it's an interesting one I've done. I partnered up with 2 other coaches that are very different from me. One talks really quietly, lovely person, and some people want that. So we've set a thing up between us, but I'll get on a call within 15 minutes. If I don't think you're a good fit, I'll say, listen, in the nicest way, we wouldn't gel. Like, you would hate me after week 3, or we won't get the results, and we don't need the business, but we value it. Would you be offended if I recommend you someone I think would be a good fit for you? And I'll literally do a WhatsApp message. Hey, X, introduced Y. We've had a call, XYZ, think you'd be a great fit. I done that. I got a big client from us, which is our 30K program, off the back of that. Because some guy come message me and he said, oh, you spoke to my friend. You passed him over, which he was really offended by, but he reckons me and you would get on great. And I'm like, this is the win. Because then if you get on a call with me, it's not do you win and I win, or you lose and I lose. If you don't come with us and we're not the right fit, we'll make sure that you are at least one step further along the tracks by the end of that call.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a great worst case scenario.
It is. And I put that in my messaging as well. It's so not the partnership. I think that's a great idea. I guess that's sort of a separate conversation. But in my messaging, I will say, to be clear and 100% upfront, this is not a coaching call, but even if you don't sign up, you will leave with a ton of value, because I'll like actively deconstruct and help people think about their offer on that call. And even if you just get 15 minutes of that, from someone who's done it with, you know, with 10s, 50s, maybe even 100 clients in the past, you're going to get value at least from that, even if you don't buy. And with that recommendation as well, I think that's great, because I don't think many people will do that. So it's very rare to hear another coach recommend another coach, or a mentor recommend a mentor. And also, for the person that you are recommending, there's an extra inch, maybe even a mile closer to being not sold to buying off that person.
100%.
There's a recommendation in
so much weight, right? But
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I like
yeah.
you, but hang on, you told me to talk to him. Okay, well, imagine I go out and they come talk to you and go, Dave sent me over, Chris, because they think we'll get on. Automatically, if they've contacted you, they had enough belief in me to want to listen to you. You're just more open to it. And we live in a world now, everyone's trying to compete. People are, I was looking at hiring this coach. Okay, why? What was you like about him? Well, that makes sense. And this and the other, go and work with them. What do you mean I mean, like, you're not going to pitch me type of attitude. No, I'm not here to force you to use us. You have a problem. There's loads of people out there. Go and find that person. And I'm a big believer, this might come across arrogant, but a lot of people that go off and hire someone else, because our program is so in depth, but a lot of people go there and might lead us later anyway. And I'm cool with that.
Yeah, like I've had that happen. Sales call, I'm going with someone else. Okay, cool. A few months later, reconsidered. I think I want to come and work with you. Okay, cool.
And it's also great for us, or for coaches in general, because I would say it's like a relationship. If a girl meets a guy after having a terrible partner, or a guy meets a girl after a terrible partner, they do all the stuff that they don't want. They also have a lower expectation of people because they've been messed about. So then when you come in and you say, I'm going to do this, and you do it, they're like, cool. And then they stay more committed to that. So then they do the thing that you kept your word, I'll keep my word. And then, oh, you do turn up. Oh, you did send me that voice note. Oh, you did send that thing. Or you did give me that. And then people are like, I have a high level of gratitude for that now, because we've all had bad things that go on and stuff didn't work, or we bought a car that didn't work, and it's easy to become like my dad, who's the most pessimistic guy on the planet. Like, terrible. But he's in his world and he's happy. That's a whole different combo. But when people come through with that and they go to somewhere else and then they come back to you and they have gratitude for it and have an appreciation for it, because we stand in what our truth is, hate saying it, and we do what we do and we're prepared to let it go, I think it's better for you long term. And if we've got a scarcity mentality, but you've got to use me. People then get that gut feeling inside and they go, oh my God, get me out of here.
Yeah, you smell it a mile off, man. I think because again, when I first started, I jumped on loads of sales calls with coaches just to see what their structure was like, and a lot of them were following I could tell they'd all been through some sort of very similar, if
Group
not the
program.
same group program, with a script. And it didn't surprise me that they were reading off. It wouldn't surprise me if they were reading off a script. And it was just, I don't know, been around the block a bit, obviously, but it was very old school, just narrowing those options, and that's
asking
it.
you a very obvious question. If I could make you money, would you? If you're drowning and they threw you a life jacket, would you grab it? Like, this weird mentality. Shut up.
Yeah, so I always say that I do the exact opposite in my sales calls, and it's not what I help other people with. I do try and teach them a bit of a formulaic sort of framework to approach it until you're comfortable, until you're comfortable to step outside that and just completely be yourself. And you still have a bit of a framework in your head, but I jump on sales calls now and I'll treat it literally like a chat. And I think that's
because you're unconsciously competent on your skill. Right?
I hope so.
Yeah. Like, none of us is sat here now thinking about breathing until I've just said we're thinking about breathing. Now we're thinking about breathing. And that's because it's just automatic. You're you're at your black belt level where the most simple things you automatically move to. And now you're doing the next level. And that's also a credit to the craft and the study and the experience that you've put into your craft. But your idea of a conversation, like me driving a car from here to the shop, is automatic. We've all done that one. We don't even remember getting here. I don't drink, by the way, so it's not because I'm drunk. Someone said that to me before. No. But it's just automatic. You get in the car, you don't even think seatbelt clunk, click every trip or any of that. Someone else who can't drive can't imagine that. Or someone who's done one lesson, even more can't imagine that. And it's a different level of skill. So you are being effective in the communication because your framework is so ingrained in you. But when they say something, we're not even listening to the words that they say. Sorry, people, we're not. We're listening to what they mean with that, what their tonality is with that.
Yeah, you can go that level or 5 levels deeper, can't you?
You're reacting to the tonality of the answer, not the words that were used. And that's the difference with it. And so when people come in and they're at the white belt level, the yellow belt level, they need to have the say this and then do that. They've got to do like they would in karate, right? Before someone throws a punch. And they look daft doing it, but that's the way. My favorite phrase is everyone has to be a fool before they become a master. But most people aren't prepared to be a fool.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
You know what? If you want to go off and learn how to do sales and you don't have the unconsciously competent skills, go and work at a company for 3 months doing cold calling. Rip the band-aid off, get the reps in, leave and go, right, people, I'm out. My rhino skin is here. My competency level is up. Now I'm ready to add on the layers that actually will make me effective in my job. And most people aren't prepared to do that.
No, but I'll give you one hell of a backbone. I did it for a couple of years, man. 220 calls a day. Love that. Last question before we shoot off. And I'm really keen to hear what your thoughts are on this. What are the mistakes you think that people usually make when attempting to change or even start charging a higher price or for a higher risk product? What are some of let's break down and talk around some of those points. What's the one thing that jumps out?
Most people put their price up because they want to put their price up because they want to make more money because they think they're precious and valuable.
with no change in terms of deliverables, transformation, result.
They pull numbers out the sky. So I want to, before they've worked out the result they deliver and the value that, so think of it like this. If you work with me or I work with you, we're increasing the other one's share value. Our value to the market is increasing for the rest of their life. So we can gauge based on the level of our increase on our share value to the market for the rest of our life, we can work out a price that's relative because it makes it valuable. Most people are like, I just want a 6-figure business. So I just got to earn 8,300. So all I need is so many clients. Not a single point has there been about what the client's going to get. So they go, okay, so why don't you do this? Why don't you do a 4K program? Because then you only need to get 2.5 clients, right? And start it at 2K. And then once you feel more comfortable, just up your price. No. Why don't you find a product that's going to deliver 15K's worth of value in the next 3 months? Then give people an opportunity to come in at the earlier stage and then work out what you're going to add and what you're going to do and what you're going to over deliver on to get that structure.
That's hard though, because when I work with people, I always recommend they'll probably come in with an offer that either they don't have an offer or they'll come in with a 3-figure offer maybe, or maybe it'll just be $1,000. So I will always say to the people that don't have an offer or a 3-figure offer, it's got to be 4 figures minimum for confidence reasons for you to actually begin to make some money, and also to premiumize it. Now we will up the value, but how would you go about matching value with cost? Because even though what you just mentioned is, increasing share value and trying to work out how much sort of delayed value you have, that's a tough equation.
It is a tough equation, but only because people are trying to sell something they haven't sold before. So they don't understand their value. When people have come from a sales background, if you've sold a product that's 50K, you have no problem letting 50K come out of your mouth.
Yeah,
most people have
that's
never
part of my reason with the 4 figures thing.
Yeah, they've never had it come out of their mouth. I have people now, which I'll talk to about stuff, and I'll say, even if you haven't got a 10K program, get used to talking about 10K. In your mind, I'm going to have a 10K program come out in the next year. And when you talk to people on the phone and say, hey, Chris, listen, whether we work together today or not, in a year's time, we're going to have a program. It's going to come out about £10,000. And you're going to wince when you say it. And I'd love, even if we don't work together now, but we stayed in touch and we talked to you about that in a year, because I remember I'd prove it. Right? But let's get a jump. It's just come out of your mouth in a conversation. Because it's come out of your mouth once, when you talk about 1,000 or 4,000, it feels more comfortable. And that's the hardest part for most people. But if we're working about the cost to the value, work out what is the value to their life. Because it might not be how much money they've made, but you might make them a better husband, better wife. It might give them more time. It might give them more focus.
That's why I'm saying this is a hard equation. If you can,
I don't think it is that hard, because what value do they put on that? Like if someone says to me now, like I could work 15 hours a week less, 20 hours a week less, still do pretty darn well. I don't need to. Like I said earlier, I get up at 5. I love what I do. So that time in the morning would just be wasted time. I'm not going to be in bed asleep. So someone give me back that time. I could have that time now and I choose not to. So there's no value in that for me. But if there's something else that's going to increase value, make me a better father, and actually go, okay, well, how do we gauge what's going to make me a better father? Well, what's going to be the difference of you now and the father then? And you have to go, most people are only going one layer down with stuff. And I think people don't go down it far enough. If we're trying to impact someone's business, is it impacting your business for your next 5 clients? Is it enabling you to scale?
Let's stick with the less tangible stuff, like becoming a better father. This is where I'm interested to hear. This is where I think it is a hard equation, because there is no financial return. There could be if one of your kids gets famous, but there's no financial return on being a better father. So how do you turn that into a financial value is my question.
I don't know. I think there is. I think for me, if you take my kids away from me now, my life would be very soulless. Everything that I do is around them. And if I wake up in the morning and I'm being a better dad, I do better. When I work and I don't want to work hard, I imagine my kids sat at the thing watching me. So I think by me being a better father, every area of mine goes up. Like I think I think My whole reason for everything I do is about the impact and the impression I leave. My platform I have now, when I die, that will, like many moons away, that will be something which will be inherited to my kids. It will provide them with an income. Or think of all the stuff we're creating now. If you create something truly evergreen now, you could, in theory, that could be helping pay your kids' daughters' university costs. There's a lot that goes into this. And a lot of the time out there, we only go one level deep because that's all we've ever done. But when we really sit down and go, well, actually, what is a better father? What's the impact that would have on my daughter? What would be the difference in her relationships? What's the difference of respect my son will have for other people? How would he treat people differently when he meets them? What would he put up with? What would his values be? There's a lot of value that goes into that, which you can really gauge. And I think
there
a lot
really
of the time,
is. But how do we tie that to find like the cost? I've got a program that will make you a better dad. Yeah, it's gonna impact your son's life, your daughter's life. It's going to impact your business. Things, your revenue's going to go up. We don't know by how much. In fact, ignore the business thing.
I think when we're looking at that, that's not down to the fact of how much value it is now. I think that's you for having the right avatar for the people that value those things. I think if we have to explain, definitely. I think if you go explain the value that someone like Ashley's just putting it out, you're talking sense here. Perfect avatar, right? He can see that the value is there in his soul. He can see it. The people that don't see it, and they're not probably the right person to buy that product. So then you're stuck. Most people, we can have that with any product. There's people out there that look at a Ferrari and go, that is ridiculous. Like it's obscene, there's poverty in the world, and there's other people going, that's one of the most beautiful pieces of equipment. But I rented out an E-Type Jag for my dad for his 70th. He literally nearly cried. Because it's like everything.
It meant so much to him.
Right? There's other people that would walk past that and go, what a pack of crap. The value is in the eyes of the beholder. And it's got to be understanding who our people are. And then you work out what the value is going to be to them and the narrative that goes into it.
So how do we work that out? Let's say I know Ashley's on the call with us, with you. You sell it. We know he's a dad. We know he sees the value in it. How do we turn that into a financial and put that into a financial statement or a number?
Prices are pulled out of the air. Let's be frank. Prices are pulled out of the air, and then they're based on the people you're going to sell it to, their affordability in relation to what it is. If we go out to Uganda with a £10,000 product, or we go to Beverly Hills, you could take the same person with the same values, but their bank balance can depict what they deem as being valuable in it. And I think a lot of the time when we talk about prices are picked out of the air. But if we're going to justify it, for me, if someone pitched you right on a 20K program that would make you the best father in your daughter's eyes, and when you looked in your daughter's eyes that night and you were like, I want that, you would see the value. Someone else wouldn't. And I don't think you can work out a metric on this is the precise return outside, because it's an emotional value. It's not a business, do this, get a 30% increase in sales, you're turning over 100 grand, you're making 30 grand, we'll charge you 5. Because there's no guarantees on it either. And everyone's going to perceive what being a better father is completely different than everyone else. So I think it's a very tricky one for people to do. Same with people when they're doing things like life coaching and all the other stuff. You've got to really knuckle down on what the impact is. And most of the time that comes back to a monetary sense, because it's the most simple, you give me X, I'll give you Y. Where if it's all fairy dust and feelings, that's based on our mood as well. Because I'll be honest, some days with my kids, I'm like, I don't want to be a good dad. Leave me alone. And other days, I just stare at them. Right? And if we're real, we have those conversations. Everyone out there has looked at their kids and been like, oh my God, you're killing me. But love isn't any different. 100%. Right? So I think it's a very hard one to do. Very hard.
It is. And I'm trying to look at this through the eyes of potentially, I won't say a beginner, but someone who's not done this before. And the takeaway that I'm getting from what you just said is you need to go out there and work out that value by having conversations with 100%. That avatar rather than I mean, you can do
Yeah.
that, and you should. If you want to be high ticket, you need to make sure you have high impact, which is going and having those conversations, knowing the pain points, understanding how your
And you
solutions
develop
are
it with
solving them.
them. If you're doing it as a new program, if I was going to go and do it today, and I went
Yeah,
off and I said, listen, I want to go and find this is my ideal avatar would be guys that are earning from 60K above because actually they have an affordability. There's no point in setting a burger stand up in places where they can't buy burgers. Like it's just
yeah,
pointless. You want to go for your affordability. Then I would find a group of them and say, listen, this is what I'd like to do. I'd like to develop this with you. This is going to be your rewards, whether you're charging them a discount or you're doing it for free and you're getting something else. If I deliver on X, would you be prepared to give me a testimonial, referral? Do you know people else, other people that might be interested? Or you do it with people that have got an audience, but you could go to, so then you're getting payment in kind that brings the results. And then you develop it around those people and you develop it around them. And most people aren't prepared to do that. They want to go to people and go, here's my new jazzy product. Want to buy it? Oh, no, you don't. Because that's what people think. Build it and they will come. No. Find what they need and get them
yeah,
it and give them in
yeah.
abundance in a far greater scale than you've ever done before. And
Big
that's
fan of the
big one.
live build. Big fan of the
Yeah.
live build. You know, the course within my program, the platform changes daily. I'll move stuff around, delete it, put better stuff in. And I think that's such a crucial thing. But one of the hardest things to do when you're starting to put together a stacked offer where it's not just one-on-one, 12 hours, 1 hour,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And just having the guts and putting your neck on the line a bit to go, right, I'm that confident I can help people. I know my own value, whether it's been proven or not. I'm going to have those conversations. And I didn't go out there and offer anything for free per se. I made the price enticing, but also the offer stacked enough for people to
So
go,
good.
okay,
But the
I
worst
can
case
tell it.
scenario is still worth it.
Yeah,
Sometimes
exactly. And then you like your abundance, and I'm still in that over delivery stage with my business where
massively.
it's like I will just keep feeding people. I'll be available all the time, pretty much. I've 2 days
I
off a
send people
week.
voice notes because like most of my clients, when we come and bring them on, I'm like, if I voice note you, do you turn your phone off at night? And everyone's always like, yeah, it's one thing. So it doesn't matter when I send a voice note because they'll only get it when they're awake. And when they first start with us, I know that first 2 weeks is their point of uncertainty. So I make sure that I send them a voice note. Day one in the Big Brother house. This is what I need from you today. Right?
Love it.
Day 7, I know you're going to be miserable as sin. So I'll send you a joke or a funny meme. Little things. We can't put a value on that. But you know what? When we all woke up on that day and we're like, not this again. And we all have those days. If you get the right thing at that point, that is completely free. They could have got it off the internet, but they didn't. You sent it to them. That intention is what pulls that person through. And that will stay with them for a long time because then there's an expectation. And I think that's one of the big things. Again, you can't price value that, but also you
Yeah.
can't discard the value of it.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot. I think, as you say, the first 7 days is pretty much, especially if it was talking business or sales mentorship, you're pretty much guaranteed you're not going to get a client or many clients in that first 7 days, right? So, what are the quick wins that you can deliver to that person who you've just started working with? Because
100%.
you need to instill that, one, confidence in themselves, but two, confidence in you as a mentor or a coach. So I'm going to try and get Daddy of the Year award and put my daughter to sleep in a minute. It's her 7th birthday
Yeah, mate.
tomorrow.
This has been
So,
great. Go do the family.
but let's just summarize those mistakes. So the first thing is building something without without having any testing, any feedback, just picking a price
Building it
in there without
blindly.
gauging value
Yeah.
as well. Not gauging your own value by actually speaking to people and doing a bit of market research. Again, people are really resistant to doing that. And third, wherever possible, not customizing, especially at the start, the client, not the buyer, the client journey,
Yeah.
and
I
making
think
sure
so.
those first couple of weeks.
People spend a lot of time looking at how much time I put into something, not how effective it is. I spent months building this. All right, but it's still crap.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
But I've spent years
true.
developing it. I've had this dream for years. Okay, so we've wasted all this time. How much more time do you want to spend on it? Because we
And
made a
who
mistake.
deserves more accolades as well? The person that spent 15 years developing something, or the new kid on the block that's come along, done it in 5 months, and
Yeah, exactly.
is
What's the
dominating?
result? If it's crap, it's crap. If mum spent all day cooking dinner and it's a terrible roast, you do it out of politeness. But let's not hang on the fact that we spent all day making a terrible dinner. Still a terrible dinner. But out of respect for the person, you treat it nicer.
Yeah.
Right? But we
Yeah.
don't go, oh, well, you spent all day cooking it. It's better. No, we do it because we love you. We're going to treat you with respect for the effort you made. But too many people get caught up on, I spent all this time doing this. Doesn't matter. If it was wrong, stop. Like, if you've been going the wrong way for 20 miles, yeah, but I've already been here 20 miles. Okay, you're still going the wrong way, though.
Yeah, you're not going to carry on.
Turn around, and it's going to be an annoying walk back, but I'd rather walk 20 miles back than 21 or 22.
Yeah. So there's something about sunk costs as well. Just because you've been working on something,
yes,
doesn't mean you should carry on working on it.
Yeah.
The best decision ever, and I've had to do this, the best decision ever sometimes is just to walk away.
Get rid of it. That's what we said about the program earlier, and I know you need to go. Someone can have a program, but if it's not effective, it doesn't work. Don't worry about what your idea was. If we now know it's something different, make that. Do that. Get the results with that, what works. And if that didn't, you've got something you'll use that as a story later about your big failure. Make a content post about it. How I wasted 3 months of my life. It's a value there somewhere.
Yeah, there always is. You learn in every scenario, whether it's good or bad. Mate, I could stay on this call for I reckon
don't do the family
probably
stuff. That's the
talk
most
about
important.
4 hours. So yeah, no, been a right blast. We'll have to do another one. Appreciate your time, brother.
Sounds good.
Nice one.
Have a
I'll
good
see you
evening.
soon. You too, man. Bye.